Lavenderclan, as of this video, is only 5 moons old, going on 6 in a few days. It is all that's left of 4 clans. Sun Clan, Holy Clan, Tree Clan, and Cloud Clan are dwindled down to almost nothing when disaster after disaster strikes. Floods, fires, rockslides, and disease plague them from all sides. Seeing no other option, the 4 clans band together and let Star Clan choose their new leader, Lavender Star. Many cats from the 4 old clans did not wish to band together, and therefore left to become loners and rogues. The remaining clan cats decided to call all 4 territories home for the Lavender Clan. The gathering place was made into the main camp or hub of the clan, whereas the old camps were made into sentry points for each deputy. These new sentry points each hold a deputy of its own and a decent-sized group of cats. There are 4 deputies in total in Lavender Clan, as well as usually 4 to 8 medicine cats. These sentry points are named as follows: Sun Point, Log Point, Gorse Point, and Bloom Point. It is established that when the previous leader dies, Lavender Clan as a whole votes among the 4 deputies for which one will become leader. Once a leader is chosen, they will choose a cat to take their old deputy spot before getting their 9 lives. The camp where the leader resides is the old gathering place, spruced up to be more suitable as a camp. Every full moon, where a gathering would take place, is instead a deputy call, where each deputy comes to the main camp to give news on what was seen in respective territories. Clan cats are allowed to move freely between camps, but deputies, medicine cats, and leaders must stay in their own camps and territories. 3 new roles have been made under Lavender Star's leadership: messengers, keepers, and gatherers. Messengers are cats that know all the territories well enough to quickly bring messages from camp to camp. Keepers are cats who upkeep the camp walls and dens, and gatherers are cats that gather herbs for the medicine cat of their camp. Gatherers will also often join territory patrols in order to carry more herbs back to camp. Despite now being one big clan, Lavender Clan constantly fight to train against foxes and other large predators, as well as any rogues or outsiders wishing to challenge them. And finally, deep in the mountains on the edge of Gorse Point territory lies the Moon Rocks, large pointed stones that point towards the sky. This is where cats go to speak with their ancestors. So far, in these 5, almost 6 moons of Lavender Clan, life has been a bit rocky getting used to such different lifestyles being merged together, but things have been as normal as a regular clan could be. Now let's move on to the cats, shall we? First up, we have Lavender Star, previously Lavender Ear. I wanted to give the leader something special to wear as a sign of status, and decided to give him some lavender. Lavender Star was surprised when Star Clan chose him to be the new clan leader, and while he has shaped into the role well so far, he fears he still isn't doing enough. He began to believe that Star Clan is punishing him for not meeting expectations when his mate Silver Whisker and his kids all died during childbirth. Not wanting to move on, Lavender Star opts to choose he never had a mate at all, if only to escape his own heartbreak. Next up are the deputies. The first deputy is the Sun Point deputy, Morning Mask. Morning Mask is the one who makes sure everyone is comfortable before she eats or rests. While this may make her seem selfless, she only does this because she cares about her clanmates with all her heart. She'll even send off traveling warriors with a snack from the fresh kill pile. Morning Mask had a lover before Lavender Clan came along, and once Lavender Clan was formed, she saw her mate's true colors as he yelled at Lavender Star. Feeling like a fool, she told him to deal with Star Clan's choice or leave. He chose to leave, and Morning Mask hasn't looked back since. The Log Point deputy is Snakecrawl. Snakecrawl's previous clan, Tree Clan, treated him as an outcast, simply for being the son of a rogue. No matter how much he tried to prove himself to his clan, it wasn't enough. He wasn't enough. But he was never driven away, so they had to trust him somewhat, right? But imagine his surprise when newly named Lavender Star chose him as a deputy. Gorse Point is next, and their deputy is Puddlefoot. Puddlefoot goes about his job with no hesitation. He even believes that he's the best candidate to be leader after Lavender Star. He's confident enough in himself to the point of seeming arrogant to those who don't know him well. He's protective of his clan members, and he prides himself on being a perfect provider and protector. Puddlefoot dreams of being a hero and wants to stand out in the tales of history. The final deputy is Marsh Swoop of Bloom Point. Marsh Swoop was Cloud Clan's leader. After being forced to step down and let Lavender Star become leader, he still holds some resentment for being demoted to deputy. He knows his Cloud Clan-born clanmates would vote for him as next leader, but he's not sure if he'll live to see that day. He's seen as an old grouch, so most try not to aggravate him. In truth, he is upset at losing his place and wonders what he could have done differently to let Star Clan let him keep his old position. Moving on to the medicine cats. Our first is Sparrow Scratch of Sun Point. Sparrow Scratch had felt at the moment Star Clan said to band together that this was not going to end well. With Violet Brush being appointed a brand new medicine cat with little to no training, a leader stepping down to deputy position for Lavender Star, and all the kids, mothers, and apprentices having to adjust to such a huge change, Sparrow Scratch can't help but feel dread. Next is Moth Muzzle of Log Point. Moth Muzzle tries to be friendly, but it's clear that past conflicts between the clans are still there. She's wary of those that weren't in Tree Clan, even if Star Clan wished them to band together. She sees it every day. Despite Star Clan's word, tension in Lavenderclan still runs high. Cats are unsure about working together still, despite spending several moons under the same clan name. Shadow Spirit is Gorse Point's medicine cat. He likes to stay in the background, doing his job when needed and overall not talking to anyone. Doesn't want to be a bother, as he puts it. Shadow Spirit broke the warrior code early on in his days as a medicine cat, falling for a loner and having a kit together. Shadow Spirit named the kit Raven Kit, and watched as he was apprenticed to a troublesome warrior. With no way to tell Ravenpaw who he was to him, Shadow Spirit can only watch as his son grew more and more hateful, only to be crushed in the landslides of Holly Clan's demise. Cherry Skip is next, and she's Bloom Point's medicine cat. She often goes along to the beat in her own head, instead of following the crowd. Cherry Skip was the first medicine cat to receive the prophecy about forming Lavenderclan. Crows follow her when she goes out into the flower field of Bloom Point, telling her things to come. She believes she is to truly unite the new clan, as Lavenderclan needs her and her guidance from StarClan. And finally, the main camp healer is Violet Brush. Violet Brush usually looks at each situation at least 3 different ways before making a choice, and can change course in the middle without effort. She goes with the flow and takes each thing as it comes. Violet Brush was chosen by the StarClan to be the main camp's medicine cat. With no prior knowledge of how to do the job, she feels like she's wandering most days. But she isn't upset about it. She goes through each day with upbeat confidence, doing all her best for her clanmates. Moving on to the messengers, we have Storkstep of Sunpoint. Storkstep is prideful and stoic, and some often wonder why he wasn't chosen as a deputy due to his leadership skills. Storkstep prided himself as a Sun Clan cat, and was the one to name Sunpoint after Lavenderclan was formed. He's indifferent to the merging, as it's what StarClan wanted, but he finds himself dreaming of days long past. Deep down, he knows he wishes things hadn't changed. Log Point has a rowdy vixen cry. She can be found training the young cats before their apprenticeship. Born half-clan between Tree Clan and Cloud Clan, Vixen Cry grew up ignoring everyone's distaste. She was bubbly and bright, and not afraid to back down when needed. She met her brother Foxfang when they were apprentices, and oftentimes they'd sneak off together to bond. Gorse Point holds Woodscar. Devoted and loyal, Woodscar protects those he knows need protection, and stands by those he knows can handle themselves. Woodscar did anything and everything for Holly Clan, fighting, hunting, and protecting. He watched as his clanmates were crushed around him in landslides. His mate, his leader, and his best friend. When he heard StarClan tell them to unite who all was left, he vowed to do anything and everything for his new clan and family. Next up is Vixen Cry's brother, Foxfang, the Bloom Point messenger. He can come off as rude sometimes, but deep down, he's very caring of his clanmates. Like Vixen Cry, he's not afraid to back down from what he thinks is right. Born half-clan between Tree Clan and Cloud Clan, Foxfang was in all sense of the word a troublemaker. He'd scare younger kids, mess up the nests in Apprentice Den, and even be obnoxious in the middle of camp clearing. But when it came down to it, Foxfang proves his worth when he ran to Tree Clan for help when a dog pack had invaded camp. With the help of Tree Clan's warriors, the dogs were chased off. Our final messenger is Eeltail. Eeltail often has background character energy. He doesn't often stand out, and he actually prefers it that way. Eeltail took his apprentice days for granted. He never expected disaster and death to whirl around him so fast when he was part of Sun Clan. Early into his days as Lavenderclan's main messenger, he witnessed heartache and Lavender Star losing his mate, cats arguing about the merging despite StarClan's orders, and cats fearing it's the end. He wishes for simpler times. Moving on to the keepers, our first is Frogbelly of Sunpoint. Frogbelly is a peaceful cat, usually the one to go to when a dispute breaks out. Frogbelly is content as a keeper, not having to leave camp for battles anymore. Now she can simply gather material and upkeep the camp for her beloved clanmates. She is indifferent to the merging, simply content with the quiet life of upkeeping camp and living out her days in supposed peace. Ferret Tooth is next, and she's a bit timid and overprotective. Ferret Tooth lost her kits during the disasters, and she hasn't felt like herself since. She busies herself with upkeeping the camp, telling herself she's protecting the rest from being taken as well. She cares deeply for her clanmates, and sometimes entertains the thought of maybe trying for a family again. Leechart. Oh boy, Leechart. He's bitter, cold-hearted, and rude. Leechart would rather sit in a thorn bush than to continue to upkeep Gorse Point camp. When Leechart was made Gorse Point's keeper, he was inwardly outraged. He was a warrior, not some camp builder. He someday hopes someone will take his place before he's too old, but with that nagging thought in his mind, he wonders if there's a way to take revenge on Lavenderclan's leader. Mosspelt is next. She's hard-working and a bit of a loner, standoffish at first but kind and caring to those she knows well. Mosspelt was born outside the clans, and joined shortly before Lavenderclan was made. It wasn't until she witnessed Lavenderstar receive his 9 lives, see StarClan in the flesh, that she began to believe in them. Before Lavenderclan, she felt like an outcast, but when she was given her role as Bloompoint's keeper, she felt right at home. The last of the keepers is Sorrelspots. Sorrelspots didn't mind becoming a keeper. It meant she could look after her clan in a protective way in her older age. In her spare time, she happily looks after kits and apprentices, finding herself a bit sad to know she'll be gone from their lives one day. Next up are the Gatherers, starting with J-Wing. J-Wing isn't what you'd expect. He's timid, self-deprecating, and often keeps his opinions to himself. J-Wing's past is rocky at best. From failed battles to failing his clanmates in their time of need, J-Wing thinks lowly of himself. So low, he even believes he should be exiled for his failures. So he doesn't understand why Lavenderstar appointed him as Sunpoint's gatherer. Isn't he a bad clanmate? Whatever Lavenderstar's reading, J-Wing isn't sure he'll be able to fulfill his role. Thistlethorn is much like J-Wing, self-deprecating and pessimistic. He grew up with a mentor that didn't show him his value, and Thistlethorn was left to believe he wasn't good enough or special enough, and this mindset was only pushed further when he was made a gatherer. Hawkwatcher is thoughtful, helpful, and overall willing to do almost anything that's needed of her. Hawkwatcher was a loner when Lavenderclan formed, practically leaping at the chance for something different in life. She joined Lavenderclan as a gatherer to learn the territory and meet her new clanmates, but she finds herself feeling strange, like something's holding her back from truly feeling at home in Lavenderclan. Driftleaf is often quiet and soft-spoken, but she's determined to do her duty in her new clan. Driftleaf was left hollow after seeing so many cats die from the disasters. Was it StarClan's doing, to speed up the process of making Lavenderclan? Driftleaf isn't sure, but all she knows now is she must fulfill her duty in her new clan. The last of the gatherers is Dewish, who is hopeful, positive, and extroverted. After the merging, Dewish had fallen in love with Leechart at first sight. And despite Leechart not reciprocating the feelings, Dewish hopes one day they'll be together. She often dreams about potential kits she'll have in the future as well, whoever's they end up being. Finally, moving on to the warriors, the first is Dojump. Dojump can shakily be called a warrior at best. He barely passed his warrior's assessment, and Lavenderstar debates on whether to reassign him as a keeper or gatherer. Dojump longs to prove he's good for something more than just a pity role. Next is Stopfer. She's often seen as hopeful, sincere, and honorable, willing to do what's right. A previous Tree Clan warrior, Stopfer feared was the end of the clans when disaster struck. So when StarClan said to come together, Stopfer jumped into her new life, knowing that this would be her newest chapter. Sandwave is our next warrior. Sandwave knew when Lavenderclan was made that this was his chance. Due to disasters, his warrior ceremony had been delayed. Cats whispered that he wasn't good enough to be a warrior, so when Lavenderstar made him a warrior, he vowed to do everything in his power to protect his clan. Cloudleap is next, and he's often described as patient. This patience makes him one of the best hunters. When disaster struck and the clans were merged together, Cloudleap was one of the first to support the queens and kids dealing with distress, and that's how he met Milkberry. Cloudleap fell in love with Milkberry at first sight. The only reason he hasn't made a move is because Milkberry is still mourning her old mate. Despite his heart aching with love every time he sees her, he will wait to confess until she is ready. As you can tell, our next cat used to be a kitty pet, and from her ear has been spayed. Tumbletail was a kitty pet before she joined Lavenderclan, enthralled by the stories of battle. And while others look down on her for being a kitty pet, her outward expression shows her as happy as could be in her new home. But deep down, she begs for someone to show her true appreciation and love. In the meantime, she does her best for her new family. Shelleye is Sandwave's mate, and she's a dreamer, a romantic, and meek at times. Shelleye has never felt at home within the clans, and can often be found staring wistfully into the distance at the mountains just beyond Gorse Point territory. She hopes Sandwave will go with her when she gets the courage to leave. When she's not thinking of clan duties or running away, she's thinking of potential kits her and Sandwave could have. Spotted Flame is like one of a couple lights in the dark for Lavenderclan. Despite all the disasters still echoing in the new clan, Spotted Flame still looks ahead, and he does his best to keep everyone's chins up. He trains with the apprentices, partakes in patrols and hunts, doing anything that's needed, all to keep his fellow cats happy and live life to the fullest. Gloompad is our next cat, and she's more of the tentative, quiet follower type. With all the disasters and death, Gloompad wonders if StarClan is truly worth believing in. Her faith is shaken by the loss of her family and old clanmates. Isn't StarClan there to protect them? Why send all the disaster if they wanted the clans to merge? Gloompat asks these questions often, knowing she's least likely to get an answer being just a warrior. Fungus Swipe was once the Cloud Clan deputy under Marsh Star, who we now know as Marsh Swoop, and stepped down after failing to save a litter of kits from a fox. The scar over his face is a painful reminder. Losing the kits was the final straw for him, as he had believed to have failed many times before. He hopes he can do better in Lavenderclan, to forget all his past pain and move on. Remember Gloompat? Well, Brave Run is pretty much the opposite. Brave Run is, like her name, brave, a leader, and fiery in personality. Brave Run faced the disasters with a brave face and confident aura, charging valiantly into danger to save any cat she could. Her scars are from her many rescues, and she has more than earned her warrior name. Beetleclaw is often considered smart, yet dull and monotonous at times. Beetleclaw didn't expect to survive the disasters. Deep down, he wished he didn't, just so he could be with his family. As each moon goes by, the feeling only gets bigger, but he continues on for his new clan. After all, he has a mate and potential future kits to look after. Stormtongue is angry, grouchy, and a loner. Not many like to stick around him. Before the merging, Stormtongue was a prideful warrior, willing to do anything and everything for his clan. But now, Stormtongue is angered at StarClan for forcing them to unite. StarClan destroyed the clans to build a whole new one, didn't they? Stormtongue wants to make StarClan pay by destroying the new clan from the inside out. And our final warrior is Mousenose. Mousenose lost her whole family, losing her mother and siblings to the rock slides, and leaving her exiled father's deeds behind her. Mousenose continues on in Lavenderclan as a no one. Just another set of claws to hunt and fight. Before the merging, her life was harsh, dealing with her father's attempts to gain power and the mistrust from her fellow Holly Clan members. So now she hopes she can build anew in Lavenderclan. Finally, we're on to the apprentices. Our first is Lizardpaw. Lizardpaw can be a bit forgetful and also egotistical and immature. The oldest and most successful of the apprentices, Lizardpaw receives praise left and right. He often forgets that the other apprentices need to learn as well, and is a little too eager to participate or show off. Still, Lizardpaw is shaping up to be one of the best fighters in the clan. Next is Bugpaw. Bugpaw is ambitious, charismatic, and optimistic. Bugpaw knows her and her fellow apprentices are meant for greatness. After all, they are part of Lavenderclan's new generation. Bugpaw tackles any challenge with enthusiasm and confidence. Soulpaw is often described as envious, bitter, and frightening. The other apprentices and kits tend to avoid her. Apprenticed to Stormtongue, Stormtongue taught Soulpaw some deadlier to-battle moves and tactics. Influenced by Stormtongue's teachings, Soulpaw can't help but be jealous of her more successful apprentices. Sappaw had heard about the four clans early on in his apprenticeship and grew to wonder what it was like. The hissed opinions around him shaped his way of thinking. Secretly, Sappaw doesn't believe Lavenderstar should have been made leader. After all, why should a tree clan cat rule over all four clans? So Sappaw disobeys Lavenderstar any chance he gets. Azaleapaw is our final apprentice. Azaleapaw's parents died early on in the Sun Clan floods, and he hasn't been the same since. Only a few moons old during the incident, Azaleapaw is frustrated that the clans are falling so easily to disaster. He wishes that things could have stayed the same, and he could have been a proud warrior of Sun Clan instead of Lavenderclan. Black Sky is our first queen, and she's very motherly and sweet, overall very soft in personality, appearance, and vibe. She's one of the oldest queens in Lavenderclan, and she treats each kit equally. She tends to their nightmares, teaches them the importance of clan roles, and praises them for being brave in the medicine den. The clan considers her the entire clan's mother. Milkberry is not afraid to get her paws dirty. She's intelligent and can be impulsive at times. Falling in love with a cat outside of her clan wasn't something Milkberry expected, especially during the disasters each clan was facing. But when she found out her overprotective father had killed her mate to teach her a lesson, Milkberry didn't take kindly to it. During the flooding of Sun Clan, Milkberry shoved her father into harm's way, angry that her kits wouldn't have a father. You may be surprised to hear Cricket Stripe as a permanent queen in Lavenderclan. Born with a twisted foot, Cricket Stripe had few options on what he could do to help his clan. Unable to fight properly, Cricket Stripe sticks to the nursery. His love of kits shines brightly, so much so that kits often consider him to be a father figure. Black Sky is the clan's second mother, so Cricket Stripe may as well be the clan's second father. Sometimes he likes to entertain the thought of being Black Sky's mate. Willowbranch is hardworking and stiff when approached. Willowbranch never got the chance to have kits with her mate. Losing him to the landslides left her heartbroken, so now she busies herself with helping the other queens and kits, performing as a queen all the same. It doesn't seem like she has any interest in finding a mate again. Next up is Dandelion Petal. She's Beetleclaw's mate, and is a little ball of sunshine. Dandelion Petal knows the kits are scared from the events leading up to Lavenderclan, So she comforts them from the nightmares and encourages them to enjoy their life despite the danger they were previously in. The youngest of the clan considers her a big sister. Oatbloom is our final queen, and is whimsical, a dreamer, and sometimes forgetful. Oatbloom often wishes she could fly. She can be found watching birds, the clouds, and the starry sky of Silverpelt. She can often be imaginative and an airhead at times, so is the reason she tends to be forgetful as well. Nettlecit and Petalkit are the two current kits in the nursery. Nettlecit and Petalkit are supposed to be apprentices, but have had their apprenticeships delayed due to running out of camp and nearly dying in a nearby river. The two of them seem almost inseparable, going along with each other's plans, but lately it seems they've been drifting apart, Nettlecit bitter that Petalkit dragged them into deep trouble and delaying their apprentice ceremonies. Finally, on to the elders. Our first is Misty Whisper. She's often described as calm, collected, and peaceful to be around. Misty Whisper sees it often, how the younger cats yell and cry and argue over what's going on. She understands their outbursts. Dealing with disaster, grief, and a huge change can be overwhelming. But she's there to remind them that things will be alright. StarClan has guided them to a new path. Fidget Whisker is wise, soft-spoken, and overall down-to-earth. Fidget Whisker is one of the wisest cats in the Lavenderclan. She's been through it all, from plague to famine, from border skirmishes to full-on wars. She remains lively in her old age and isn't afraid to join the apprentices' mock fights just to show them how tough their opponents can truly be. Ragged Talon, through all the battles and memories, longs to see his friend and mate again. Her name has slipped his aged mind, but her face is one he'll never forget. Sometimes he can even see her ghost in the corner of his eye. He may forget names, but his battles and time as a clan cat is something he'll never forget. Bramblethroat is gentle, witty, and a bit of a goofball. Bramblethroat is the oldest cat in Lavenderclan. With one missing eye, many are impressed he managed to survive the disasters. He often reminisces about his lost mate, and cats love to hear his tales about his warrior days. And we're down to our final cat. Badgerblood is our last elder, and he's gruff, hardworking, and honorable. But lately, Badgerblood often has nightmares, not from any of the disasters, but what he believes is an omen of upcoming bloodshed and bones. He's nervous to confide in the medicine cats about it, afraid if he says it aloud it will come true. So Badgerblood stays quiet, and hopes the supposed omen is merely a fabrication of his old mind. And that's the last of Lavenderclan. Don't worry, this isn't the end of their tale. I have plenty of content waiting. Up to Moon 25, in fact. So I hope to see you all again.